Hello everyone, welcome back to Computer Systems YouTube channel. My name is Eugene and today I'm going to show you how you can install and configure a DHCP relay agent to forward DHCP, discover packets and other traffics from one subnet to the other. And this is the lab setup we're going to use. As you can see, we have two networks over here, but we have only one DHCP server. This is our DHCP server. And currently, our DHCP server has a scope for this network ID. So this DHCP server is serving this client on network 1 without any problem. But we also have a network over here, which is network 2 with a different network ID. We want the same DHCP server to serve. Okay, that is when a relay agent comes in. If you have a situation like this, you need a DHCP relay agent. This is going to act like a router to forward DHCP packets back and forth between these two networks, so that in case a client over here sends a DHCP discover packet across the network to search for a DHCP server, this relay agent over here will forward the DHCP discover packet to this side of the network, and the DHCP server over here respond by sending a DHCP offer packet back, and the relay agent will take it and then forward it back to the client, so that the list generation process will go through successfully and the client will get its IP address on this network. But currently on this our DHCP server over here, it has only one scope, that is serving network 1. If you want this DHCP server to be able to serve network 2, which is having the network ID of 192.168.1.0, we have to create another scope over here, which has a network IP range of this sort. So we are going to move to our DHCP server over here and create a new scope for network 2. Then we need to also ensure that the scope's server option has been configured to use the internal interface on this side of the network, on network 2, as its default gateway. So as you can see, on the DHCP relay agent, we have two NICs because it's going to act as a router. So one of the NICs will be connected to network 1 and the other NIC will be connected to network 2. Okay, and then you see that NIC 1 is having the IP of 192.168.0.1, which is having the same network ID as all clients on network 1. And then the second NIC, because it's connected to network 2, is having the network ID of 192.168.1. Alright, so when we start this our relay agent, we are going to configure these IPs over here for it. And then we need to also ensure that this DHCP server over here has this default gateway address 192.168.0.1, so that this DHCP server over here can contact this relay agent for network transmission. And then we also need to make sure the scope that we've created for client on network 1 will have the server option with the default gateway 192.168.0.1, so that in case a client obtains an IP address from this DHCP server on this network, it will have the default gateway address of 192.168.0.1, so that the client can also contact client over here on network 2 if it obtains an IP address from this DHCP server. Okay, so some of the configurations have already been completed. We've done the installation and configuration of our DHCP server. It's having its first scope that is serving this client. So we're going to continue from there. So as you can see, this is our DHCP server, DHCP SRv1. And when we open the DHCP console of DHCP SRv1, just as I told you before, it's having just one scope, that is serving 192.168.0.0 network. That is network 1. And then it's having a scope option that enables client who obtains an IP address from this DHCP server to route packet to the other side of the network, which is network 2. So we have to create another scope for network 2. So I'll create a new scope here. I'll right click on IPv4 and select new scope. I'll go next and give it a name, scope 2, and then I'll go next here and then give it an IP range 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.20, because we are using this scope to serve network 2, and this is the network ID of network 2, 192.168.1.0. Okay, so I'll go next here once I have my range, and then exclude 192.168.1.1 because I'm going to use that address as my default gateway on network 2. Okay, and I'll click add here and go next and leave the least duration period to 8 days. Go next, and I'll configure the server option. This server option for my default gateway, I've already said that I'm going to use 192.168.1.1, which is the second adapter of the relay agent that is connected to network 2. So I'll put 192.168.1.1 and I'll click add and go next. I don't have any DNS server on my network, so I'll go next here. I don't have any Win server. I'll go next, and then I'll activate the scope by leaving this radio button here and go next and click finish. I have my scope that is going to serve network 2. So on my DHCP server on network 1, I don't have to do anything here again. I just have to close this DHCP console and go and verify whether this DHCP server has the default gateway on its personal IP configuration. So I'll check here by running the command prompt and running ipconfig /all, and I'll go enter here, and it tells me the default gateway for this server is 192.168.0.1, which is the first NIC 1 of our relay agent. And I'll close this one. Once I verify that, one thing that I need to do here is to deactivate the scope so that when I start my relay agent on my virtual machine, it wouldn't give it an automatic IP, so that I'll get a chance to set static IPs for my relay agents network interface cards. So I'll open the DHCP console again here, and then I will right click on the first scope and select deactivate, go yes, and right click on the second scope and select deactivate and select yes over here. Later we are going to activate it again for testing, but for now we need to deactivate it so that it doesn't leave any IP address to any machine until we want to do that. Then we come and enable it again or activate it again. So I'll close this console and I'll start my relay agent. This is going to be my DHCP relay agent, and in the diagram we saw that the DHCP relay agent has two NICs, NIC 1 and NIC 2, but on this my VMware it only has one NIC. So I would add one more NIC so that I can assign this IP address to that NIC as well. I'll minimize here and start this server. Once the server is started, I'll add one more NIC for it. But let's take note of something here. When you go back to the DHCP server and you check, you would see that our DHCP server's network adapter is connected to VMnet 2. And on our lab setup, you see that there is a cable over here connected to VMnet 2. Okay, like virtual switch. It's like a virtual switch. The VMnet is like a virtual switch. So we've connected our DHCP server to the virtual switch over here, which is virtual switch 2. and then all our clients on this network will also connect to virtual switch 2. Clients who want to obtain an IP address from this DHCP server will connect to virtual switch 2. That means that on our virtual machine, any client that we add that we wanted to obtain an IP address in the first network, we have to make sure the adapter settings have been configured to VMnet 2. So I'll select OK here. This is OK because in our diagram, DHCP is connected to VMnet 2. And then the internal adapter over here of our relay agent, the NIC 1, the first NIC of our relay agent must also be connected to VMnet 2. And as you can see from our virtual machine, this is our relay agent. The first NIC over here, when I double click on it, it tells me that it's in VMnet 2. This is OK. So the second adapter I'm going to add, which is going to connect this relay agent to network 2, must be in VMnet 3 as is displayed in this diagram over here. So when I add the second adapter for my relay agent, I'll change the virtual network or the switch to VMnet 3. Okay, and I'll minimize here. So let's add a NIC. I'll double click on this adapter over here and select add, select yes, and then I'll add a network interface card by selecting network adapter here. I'll go next, and it asks me what network will this network adapter connect to. Okay, this network adapter is the second network interface card of our relay agent, and as we saw in the diagram, this second network interface card was connected to VMnet 3 or virtual switch 3, so we have to put it on VMnet 3, and I'll go finish here. So the first network interface card of our relay agent is connected to virtual switch 2, and the second one is connected to virtual switch 3. This is OK. Then I'll go OK here. The next thing that we need to do on our DHCP relay agent, right now our relay agent is having two network interface cards here. What we need to do is to set the IP addresses. So I'll go full screen here, and I'll set the IP addresses for it. Let's take note here. NIC 1 is bearing the IP address 192.168.0.1, and NIC 2 is bearing the IP address what? 192.168.1.1, which is the default gateway for network 2. And then this IP address is the default gateway for network 1. Okay, so let's set the IPs. I'll go back to my relay agent. This is my relay agent. I'll right click on this network icon here, notification area, and open network and sharing center. And then I'll click on change adapter settings. Then this is my first network adapter. This is my second network adapter because the NICs are named from 0. So 0 is first to 1. Okay, so I'll rename these adapters over here so that they match what we have on our diagram over here. The first NIC has been named NIC 1. The second NIC has been named NIC 2. Okay, so I'll rename this first NIC over here. I'll rename it to NIC 1 and rename this one to NIC 2. And then from the diagram, NIC 1 is having the IP address of 192.168.0.1. So we put it here. Just right click on this network interface card, go to properties. I'll stop the IPv6 now, and then select TCP/IP version 4. And then I'll click on properties, select use the following IP addresses, and enter that address here, 192.168.0.1. We'll not set default gateway here, just IP and subnet mask is good enough. I'll click OK here and click close here. And for NIC 2, In our diagram, NIC2 is bearing the IP address 192.168.1.1. So we set it here. I'll stop IPv6. And I'll set this IP address here 192.168.0.1.1 instead. Okay. I'll click OK here. Click close. And the IP configuration is fine. The next thing that we need to do is to install routing and remote access and configure it to act as our DHCP relay agent. So I'll just open Server Manager here, and then when Server Manager is done loading, I'll click on Add Roles and Features. Okay, once I click that, a wizard will pop up. I'll go next here. I'll make sure I select role-based or feature-based installation and go next. And then I'll make sure I select my server name. I'll make sure I select my server name over here. As you can see from this side, this is our relay agent. It's having two IP addresses, one for NIC1, one for NIC2. So I'll go next here. And then what I need to install is remote access. So I'll check remote access here. And the Server Manager tells me that I need to add all these features before I can install remote access. I'll just agree and click on Add Features and select Next here. I'll leave this default and go next here and go next. And then this is what we need, routing. So I'll check routing here and go next, leave this default, go next, and then install.
See how she has rearranged my face. When I wanted to marry her, nobody told me that beating was part of the bargain. Hi, Chineke. I don't know what kind of madness made me to marry a killer. Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's continue. Now the installation is complete, so you can close this wizard here. And then you close Server Manager. We installed remote access and added our routing and remote access. So this is routing and remote access. So once this is installed, what you need to do is to go to the start screen and then open routing and remote access. Okay, so once you have your routing and remote access console opened, what you need to do is just right click on the server name here, the local server, and then select configure and enable routing and remote access. I'll go next here, and what we need to do is to switch this radio button from here to custom configuration and go next. And this is what we need: LAN routing, local area network routing. You check LAN routing, then you go next, then you click on finish. It's going to start the service. You just click on start to start the routing and remote access LAN routing service. And then on the IPv4 node here, you have to click on general here and then select new routing protocol. You select new routing protocol and you select relay agent. Then you go OK. When you add relay agent, you just click on relay agent under IPv4 and right click, then select new interface. What we are doing here is that we are telling this relay agent which network interface card you should listen on. Right now, client on this network 1 have a DHCP server, so if they need to contact or send any DHCP discover packet on this network, they will get a DHCP server to respond. But on this side of the network, they don't have a DHCP server. So we have to tell this our relay agent to listen from this side of the network. And it is NIC2 that is connected to this side of the network. So we tell this our relay agent that listen on this side of the network, which is our NIC2. So I'll go back to my relay agent and then select NIC2 and go OK. And then we have this hop count and boot threshold. We leave the default and go OK. And then there's one more thing. We need to tell this DHCP relay agent that, let's go back to our diagram. We need to tell this DHCP relay agent that if you listen on NIC2, which is connected to network 2, and then you receive any DHCP discover packets, send it to 192.168.0.2, which is the only DHCP server we have on this entire network. So we go back and I'll right click on relay agent protocol over here under IPv4 and select properties, and I'll tell it the IP here by typing 192.168.0.2, which is the IP address of our DHCP server. And I'll click add and go apply. Okay. So right now, this relay agent knows where to forward DHCP discover packet to in case it receives one on NIC2, which is connected to network 2. So the configuration is done. What we need to do here is to test. If the test goes on well, if we introduce a new client on network 2 over here, if we introduce a new client, when we connect a new client to this switch, which is VMware 3, the client will send a DHCP discover packet to all nodes, and then this DHCP server will receive it and then forward it to the DHCP server for a reply, and then feed it back to the client so that the client can have an IP address. But we need to make sure the new client that we are going to use to test network 2 is connected to switch 3 or virtual network 3 on our virtual machine. So we'll do that quickly. I'll start one of my client machines, Windows 8.1. As you can see, it's in VMware 2. So I'll start the machine and then change the virtual switch from VMware 2 to VMware 3 so that it can be on network 2. Network 2 is using VMware 3 as their virtual switch. So I'll start this guy over here. Okay, so once our Windows 8 client machine is up, we will go to its network settings here, not in the virtual machine, but on the VMware. You have a network icon here. You double click, and then you make sure it's connected to VMware 3, which is the virtual switch network 2 is using. VMware 3. Once you click on VMware 3, you can go OK. And now this client will be disconnected from VMware 2, that is network 1, and will get connected to network 3. Shows here that it's connected to network 3. And at this point, you can go and activate our scopes on our DHCP server, so that the DHCP server will start leasing out IP addresses to client machines both on network 1 and network 2. But the only client that we have over here, this one, is connected to network 2 at this moment. So when it queries for an IP, relay agent will get the query and it will send it to the DHCP server. The DHCP server will check its scopes and it will realize that the request is coming from network 2, and it will assign an IP address from the 192.168.1 scope to that client, so that that client can communicate with other clients we have on this network 2. So I'll just go and activate the scope here on my DHCP server. I'll go full screen here and then start my DHCP console. I'll expand DHCP SRv1, expand IPv4, and then I'll activate the scopes now. This is the one we need, the one that is going to serve network 2, but we can enable all the 2 and we didn't have any problem. So I'll right click on the first scope for network 1 and click on activate, and then right click on this one and click activate. Okay, but you will see that when we go to our client machine and right click on the network icon notification area and select on change adapter settings, and right click on our network interface card and go to status and click on details. We are still having an APIPA. So what we have to do here is to run ipconfig/release and ipconfig/renew to change this APIPA address. So I'll close this guy and disable this interface here, the Bluetooth interface. I'm not going to use it. And I'll go to my command prompt here. I'll type cmd, enter, and I'll run ipconfig/release. It's going to release this APIPA address, and then I'm going to type ipconfig/renew, enter. It's going to send the discover packet again and try and reach a DHCP server. Yes, it's working. I'll click on no here, and it tells us that it has obtained an IP address within its own network. This IP address belongs to network 2, client over here on this side of our network. So it has obtained 192.168.1.2, which is very good. If you finish this configuration and you still get an IP address from 192.168.0.0 network, it means there's a problem with your configuration, so you have to recheck. So let's go back and do some more verification. When I go back to my DHCP server and open the DHCP console and expand DHCP SRv1 IPv4, then I open the second scope, which is for network 2, and I go to address leases. It tells me that it has leased an address to a client on network 2 with this IP address. This looks good. And when we go to our relay agent and we open routing and remote access, it tells us that this NIC has received some packet from the second subnet. It has received some requests. It has replied some of them. So this number over here will keep increasing as the DHCP relay agent works on this network. These figures are going to increase. Alright, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye bye.